We're continuing to meet all of the candidates running for governor of the great state of Louisiana, and we continue now with someone you know very well, Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry. Jeff, thank you so much for being with us on TWILA.
It's great to be here.
Well, I know you. We've been talking off and on for years since you were a congressman and even a little bit before that, but let everybody know your background, because you even worked on a farm at one time.
Oh, yeah. I spent a lot of time on a farm, working on a sugar farm. Right out of high school, with a number of my friends and relatives. I had a great uncle who had a sugar farm that brought cane to Iberia Co-op, but worked with the Laperousas that brought cane to St. John and or Lasuka now. But enjoyed it, always enjoyed it. I always said that the job I had on the farm was the most relaxing. Wasn't always the easiest one, but it certainly was very fulfilling. So I know how hot it gets in the summer in Louisiana.
Did that make you change your mind on career choices
yeah,
there?
you know, it's interesting because you know, when I was working with my cousin, he said, you know, you really should go to school, go to college. My mom and them wanted me to go to college. I didn't go to college. Right after I graduated, I'd gone into the National Guard, went to work on the farm. I just wanted to go to work and enjoyed being outdoors. And he kind of pushed me. He said, you know, at the time, USL had a great agricultural program. He said, if you like it that much, you should, you know, go, because the Guard was paying for college. It was it was the best opportunity for young men and women coming out of high school. You could join the National Guard. The Guard would pay free college tuition to any public university in the state, and all you had to do was sign up, do your weekend drills and do your summer drills. At least it was until they activated us for Desert Storm. But yeah, that was the program. And one real hot summer in July, when I remember we were basically dewatering the field, some new property, and I mean the grass was higher than me and you, and it was hot. And I was working with these folks. I was like, man, there got to be something better than this. It was hot in that grass, and so I said, well, maybe I'll give it a shot to go to college. But enjoyed it, really did enjoy it. Got many friends that are in the agricultural business, really appreciate the industry, understand that you can't have a free country unless you have a country that can supply itself with food.
Well, and then you went into law enforcement as well. How did that go from working in a farm field to military service to law enforcement to being an attorney?
Well, what happened was when I decided to go to college was when they activated us to go to war. And of course, in the National Guard, I was a military police officer, so I spent a year on active duty. And then when I got out, I said, well, there's no sense in going back on the farm. I had an opportunity to go work at a police department, and I realized you could work nights and then go to school during the day. And so I did that. And so I ended up working as a police officer, and then later as a sheriff's deputy as I was going to college. Then started a business with a friend of mine and did that for a while, so kind of put my education on pause, sold the business, finished up the education, and went to law school.
And then you ran for Congress, won that one term. What did that experience teach you that prepared you to be Attorney General?
Well, I don't know that anything can prepare you to be the Attorney General. I never, if you would have asked me 20 years ago, don't you want to be the Attorney General? I'd have said, what does the Attorney General do? You know, I think that the opportunity that I had in Congress, going in with such a big class at a time when there was a big conservative movement, the first big conservative movement that happened at the turn of the century, exposed me to a lot of things. Gave me an understanding and an appreciation about how dysfunctional Washington actually is. Of course, when Louisiana lost a congressional seat, which showed me no one felt outward migration more than me in my political career, because the seat that I held basically kind of went away, right? It pitted me against another member of Congress. The legislature had to choose. We had to go from 7 to 6. And then had an opportunity to run for Attorney General. They had actually, some people had approached me to run for Attorney General while I was in Congress. And I had passed because I felt that, look, when you ask the voters for a job, you have a duty to fulfill that job. And there are people that tend to move from one seat to another. It says, well, I can run for this seat and not give up the one I got. And that's a little bit dishonest, because you've asked people to give you an opportunity to do a job. It's like a contract, and so that's what we did. We fulfilled that contract, and then after I was out and people came back to me, I decided to run, and it's been great.
Well, now you're asking for a new contract. You're asking for voters to make you governor of the great state of Louisiana. What made you decide, hey, I want to run for governor?
Well, my contract comes up this year, and so you're right. I had an opportunity to either I could run for re-election. I have the greatest job. There is no doubt that the people of the state of Louisiana have really given me an opportunity to serve as the Attorney General, and I believe it's been the greatest job I've ever had, and really have enjoyed it. But I'm sick and tired. I've had enough of Louisiana being at the bottom of all of the list. I've heard the cries from people that have said, why can't we be as good as Mississippi and Arkansas and Georgia and South Carolina? I mean, we all aspire to be like Texas. It's a big state with a lot of people. That might be an unfair comparison, but we see so many young people moving out of our state rather than moving in at a time when people around the country are actually looking for places to go. So we see all of the states in the SEC, I call it the SEC, mm-hmm. It's easy for people to know where those states are. All of those states, except for Louisiana, have people moving into them rather than out of them, except Louisiana. And so I want an opportunity to change that. And I don't think it's that difficult to do. I think it takes leadership. And I think that we've given the people of Louisiana a great taste of the type of leadership that we've exhibited at the Attorney General's office, the things that we have done and fought for them over the last 8 years, shown them that we can do it responsibly and fiscally responsible, and give them a great service and protect them. And so now we want an opportunity to take it to the next level. And this race isn't really about me. We said in October of last year, when we announced that this race was not about me, it was about you. It was about the people who are watching, the people who are listening. What is it that they hope to see the state of Louisiana look like in 10 and 20 years? And so that's what this race is about.
One thing that has grown over the years has been agriculture. Agriculture is now an $11 billion a year industry for the state, a major economic driver. How does that play? How does agriculture play into your plans as governor should you be elected?
Oh, it plays a big role. Why? Because when people ask me about the three things that we want to focus on, one of those things is the economy. And what I think we have failed to do is to support the industries that built Louisiana. Look, agriculture is not new to Louisiana. Agriculture was one of the foundational industries that built this state. And so we should be looking at how we can improve our position, how we can expand our farming opportunities and our agricultural opportunities here in this state. And we want to focus on that. We want to focus on agriculture, on petrochemical, on our oil and gas, on our exports, imports, on the great waterways that connect the world and the country here in Louisiana. And I think that if we do that, if we focus and we talk to the people who built this state, the small business owners, the farmers, those that ply their trade here in Louisiana, and we help them to grow those businesses and those job opportunities, then I think everything else becomes organic. I think that the rest of the job growth becomes organic, and that's how we start to retain great people here in this state.
Well, we have 7 candidates who are all vying for the same seat, the governor's seat, 5 of whom are Republicans. You're one of them. How are you going to, or what sets you apart from the other Republicans, and how are you going to ensure that you are the one in the runoff?
Well, look, I don't worry about who else is in the race. I don't even have a count. I can tell you that in October of last year, we got into this race, and for 90 days, no one else got in. It was, well, I'm waiting to see if this one's running or that one's running, or what if this one's getting in. That tells me that those people aren't serious about running this state. Not a state that's 50th in all of the good list. what that tells me is that that's just political opportunities, but that's not what we're about. What we're about are the issues. We're about the message that we want to bring, the vision that we want to bring to the state of Louisiana as how we can lead this state. And something unique happened. In October, we got in, and in December, the state Republican Party, in a democratic process of which we have 230 elected Republican State Central Committee members, a vast majority of them heard from their constituencies, Republicans out there that said, we don't want to see the fighting in the past. We're going to pick a candidate, just kind of like the Democrats do, and we're going to go with that person. And they overwhelmingly supported me. And so we are the Republican-nominated candidate in this particular race. And so what we've tried to do is we've tried to give the people of this state exactly what I've heard many of them say is we don't want to see all those nasty attacks back and forth. What we want to talk about is issues, and that's what we're going to try to do. And that's what we're continuing to do. And that's the message that we're spreading out to October 14th, which is the election day in the primary.
Well, before we wrap up, I'm going to bring up one more issue. He was smart enough to marry a woman from New Iberia. So,
that's what my father-in-law says.
So all great things come from New Iberia, Jeff.
Yeah, well, that's what the whole LeBlanc clan says too.
Jeff, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us here on This Week in Louisiana Agriculture. Coming up after the break, we'll meet the final candidate to grace the set of TWILA, and that's Treasurer John Schroeder. Stay with us.